Hi, third grade, it's Mrs. Feathers. We're going to go over the beginning of your TDA assignment. This assignment will take you all week. Please remember that TDA stands for Text Dependent Analysis, meaning you have to read a text and really look into it to be able to answer the prompt. The story that we're focusing on this week is called My Great Grandma. While you're reading, or while you're listening to me read, we're going to be looking for evidence. So before we can look for evidence, we need to take a look at our prompt. Today, on Monday, you are going to be deconstructing the prompt, reading the story for the first time, and highlighting evidence. Check back tomorrow for the next steps for your TDA assignment. Under Monday, I'm going to show you on classwork. You'll see My Great Grandma TDA assignment and My Great Grandma highlighting evidence. This is the first one. So if you would like to do this with me, open up the first one, and we are going to deconstruct our prompt. Our prompt reads, in the story, My Great Grandma, the character's actions support the central message. Write a paragraph analyzing how the central message of the story is love never dies. Use the character's actions as evidence to support your answer. I already marked that this is not an informational text, so we are only looking at the literature side or the fiction side. The first TDA element that I heard was character actions, so I'm going to circle that. And the second one I heard was central message, or remember it's the same thing as theme, which is a lesson you can take away from the story. The theme or central message of this story is love never dies. So even when anybody in your family or close friends pass away, or maybe even an animal, the love that you have for them and the love that they had for you never goes away. Let's read our story for the first time. So I switched over to that second assignment from Google Classroom, the highlighting evidence one. And I would like to read through this story with you. I'm going to make my screen bigger. So again, this story is called My Great Grandma. It's by Nancy Matchless. And it was written in 2015. The little gray box at the top just gives you a little bit of background about the author and the story. So it says, Nancy Matchless has written for highlights. In this story, a brother and sister visit their great-grandmother in a nursing home. As you read, take notes on how the children feel when they visit their great-grandmother. Before we start reading, there's a few things I would like to point out to you. The first thing is the numbers in the margin. These numbers are the paragraph numbers. So if I ask you to look back at a certain paragraph, they are numbered by every 5 so that you can find them easier. The second thing I would like to point out to you are the little numbers in the story. So if you can see where I'm circling here by matzo ball soup, there's a little number 1. If you see a number like this, down at the bottom of the page, it gives you a definition because it might be an unknown word to you. Let's start reading for the first time. My great-grandma lives in a nursing home. She didn't always live there. My great-grandma sits in a wheelchair now. She can't walk anymore, but she used to. My great-grandma doesn't know me these days. But when I hold her hand, she smiles at me. She knows me, even if she doesn't. We sit in a big cafeteria. Great-grandma has trouble chewing now, so she eats soft foods. Tonight, they gave her a bowl of matzo ball soup. I bring the spoon to her lips. Is it good? I ask. She nods to let me know I can give her more. Great-grandma used to make the greatest matzo ball soup in the world. I look at her and see the gold locket she always wears around her neck. Inside, there's a tiny picture of Great Grandpa. Mom and my little brother Zach have been in the gift shop. Now they come into the cafeteria to meet us. Zach is carrying a small bunch of flowers. "Hi, Great Grandma," says Zach. He hands the flowers to her. Great Grandma looks at the flowers. She looks at Zach. She doesn't remember him. "That's not Great Grandma!" Zach yells and runs down the hall crying. I want to cry too. I follow Zach and ask him if he remembers the time Great Grandma told us about her locket. "Yes," he says, sniffling. "Before Great Grandma first went into the nursing home, she showed us her locket. Your great grandpa gave it to me on our 50th wedding anniversary. He told me he'd always be close to my heart." Aren't you afraid you'll forget him?" I asked. She shook her head. "Love is a light in your heart that lives forever." I look at Zach now. His eyes are still wet. "Don't worry," I say. "Great Grandma's love for us will never fade away." I take his hand and we go back into the cafeteria. There is music playing and Great Grandma taps the arm of the wheelchair. She holds the flowers in her other hand. I know she's still there inside. Some people just see her as an old lady with white hair. They don't know her the way I do. When it's time to go, I kiss Great Grandma's cheek and she smiles. I wish I could help her be the way she was before, even though I can't. But I believe she knows deep down that the love in our hearts will live forever. So now that we read through that passage one time, we're going to look for some evidence to prove our central message or our theme that love never dies. So as we read through this story, you notice that Great Grandma is starting to forget things, but her grandchildren realize by the end that she will never truly forget them because her love for them will never fade away. Okay, on this first page, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I have some highlighting boxes. So we're going to drag these to highlight our evidence. The first piece of evidence that I like is, I believe, on the second page. So I'm going to 2-finger click, cut, take this to the second page, 2-finger click, and paste. The first piece of evidence that I like is, "Aren't you afraid you'll forget him?" I asked. She shook her head. "Love is a light in your heart that lives forever." This is when the little girl is asking her grandmother about the locket that her grandpa gave her, and he ended up passing away. So the girl asked Grandma, "Are you afraid you'll forget him?" And the grandma said, "No, because love is a light in your heart that lives forever." So that proves my central idea. The next piece of evidence that I like is the paragraph underneath. Specifically, when she says, "Don't worry," I say, "Great Grandma's love for us will never fade away." And the other piece of evidence I like is actually on the first page. And it's when the girl is holding her grandma's hand and she knows her grandma's not quite remembering her, but she knows deep down that her grandma still loves her and remembers her. So that was in paragraph 3 here. So I have 3 solid pieces of evidence highlighted and chosen. Excuse me. That is your TDA assignment for today. Tomorrow we will come back and look at this assignment again and take the next steps of completing our TDA chart. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to any of the ELA teachers. Have a great day, third grade. Bye.